This is Coop with Garage Gym Reviews, and today I'm going to review the GetRx Xebex air bike.
Shut up and sit down.
The Xebex air bike is a bike produced by GetRx. It's a bike that isn't very popular yet, I think because they haven't marketed it, I guess, correctly or as much as they should. But in my mind, this is the premier air bike available. And when I say air bike, I'm kind of referring to those bikes like Airdynes. Schwinn Airdyne, I'm going to do a comparison a little bit later on between this one and the Schwinn Airdyne that I have, and then also go over the difference between this and the Assault bike. And the Assault bike is a very popular bike today. It's the one that's seen, it was in the 2015 CrossFit Games. You see a lot of CrossFit athletes have them, mainly because Assault has done an awesome job of marketing the bike. Now, there's some differences between the two, but there's a lot more similarities between the Assault bike and the Xebex bike than there are differences. But the first thing I want to point out on the Xebex bike is the frame. As you can see, it's beefy. I mean, it hardly shakes. I mean, when you're on the bike actually pedaling, you got to be pedaling. I mean, really, when I pedal on this and I'm going all out, say on a Tabata or any sort of max effort, I'm really not shaking the bike at all. I mean, as you can see, that's going all out, and there's no back and forth. It's because the frame that the bike is built on is just really heavy duty, okay? All the tubing is just square, rounded over tubing. I'm not sure what gauge it is, but it's really thick, especially compared to the old Airdynes. This is a bike that's made to last. I don't foresee this bike breaking down anytime soon. But there's a few areas I want to point out. First are the stands. On the bottom, there's these little adjustable, I guess you find these on the bottom of chairs sometimes. That way if you're on an uneven surface, you can even them out. On the front, the wheels are attached to the actual frame, whereas with the Airdyne, you may remember, and I'll show you, but the Airdyne had the wheels attached to the actual fan. So anytime you want to move it, basically you had to pick it up and move it, and it was just an absolute hassle. But when you have it on the wheels on the actual frame, it's much more solid. It makes it much easier to move back and forth. And that's something that, for those of us who, are lucky to have a garage gym, and, even a two-car garage can get tight if you have a lot of equipment. So having wheels that you can move it around easily on is pretty great. The next part I want to move up from, besides the frame, and this is another thing actually before I move on, this back piece here is basically, there's a few of these different pieces. This piece here, there's one here, just extra connector pieces that make this more solid. Is something like this necessary? I don't really think so. However, it's awesome that it's on here because all it is just makes it more durable and essentially something that's going to last longer. Same with this piece. Is this piece necessary? I don't think so. But that's a good thing. We want things that are over-engineered. That's why companies like Rogue Fitness have done so well, because their equipment is always over-engineered because, as strength athletes, CrossFit athletes, you put a lot of abuse on your equipment. So having something that's going to be around for a while is, if you're going to, shell out your hard-earned cash, that's something you're going to want. Moving up, looking at the drivetrain. The drivetrain is, it's awesome. It's still chain-driven, very similar mechanism to the Schwinn Airdyne The main differences I see in the actual drivetrain are the rear hub is an enclosed bearing rear hub. I think that's an upgrade over the old Airdyne. Also, the pedals are attached. There's bearings within the pedals and within the swing arm that attaches to the actual handles, and very smooth. Okay, used to when you pressed on an Airdyne, there'd be like a little bit of a give in between, and it'd be impossible to get rid of that. This, I mean, as soon as you start pedaling, you're going to start putting force into the bike. Okay, there's not going to be any give, any gap, and if there ever is, there's adjustments such as here, and also adjustments up front that allow you to fix any of that. Okay, it's similar to like a road bike. Okay, I have quite a few bikes, and a real good bike is going to have a lot of different adjustments for you to make, so it, you can, I guess, customize it to your height and your pedal style and things like that. And that's kind of how this has done that. But a real solid drivetrain. I haven't seen any problems with that at all. Just still chain driven, nice cogs. Similar system to the old Airdyne, but I guess much more beefier. Moving up from there, pedals. Just a quick note: the pedals and then the actual crank arms. The crank arm is a chrome alloy crank arm. It's forged. It's real tough, real strong. I mean, you're never going to have a problem with that. The pedals are a big upgrade over the old plastic, crappy pedals on the Schwinn Airdyne. They've got some rubber on them. Are they great pedals? They're not crazy good. I mean, if you want to buy a separate pair of pedals, you can put them on there just like any road bike. But I mean, they're an upgrade over the Airdyne, over the Airdyne. And for what we do on this, I don't go for tons of miles. I more just put a lot of, short bursts on it. I think these are great, and they have some grip, which is nice. Going from there, let's look at the actual footrests. And the footrests are actually a piece of diamond plate that's been formed to fit the foot a little bit better. But this is a huge upgrade over the old Airdynes, and both over that and also the Assault bike. And I'll go over to the differences a little bit later, but I just want to say that the footrests on this are just awesome. Sometimes people will do only arms for a workout, so that, or when you're doing intervals and you switch and you're on your rest period, just putting your feet up here is real great. And these are so solid. I mean, they're bolted to the frame. It's a piece of diamond plate attached to a round tubing. They're just going nowhere. Okay, it's real comfortable, and it's real solid. And having it attached to the frame versus attached to the handle is going to allow for better durability and just allow it to last longer. From there, this is a little bit of the components part that I talk about. That the components are so much better than the Airdyne, and also better in my opinion than the Assault bike. This is kind of a small feature and something that if you didn't really take notice to, you wouldn't ever notice. But the way that this swing arm is attached to the handle is actually with a it's a bearing. I think I want to say it's a bearing, a multi-directional bearing, so that oftentimes when you're putting a lot of force on this, it's going to shake back and forth. However, with the old ones, there was just, with the Airdyne and also the Assault bike, it's just attached directly. There's no allowance for back and forth and shifting. And with this, it's not going to go loose because there's a bearing in there that shifts back and forth, which is pretty sweet. The arms on the bike are much thicker than the old Airdyne. There isn't a whole lot of difference between the arms, except for that these arms are a thicker tubing than the old round bars. But I mean, there's not a big difference. They are curved. I think they look nice. They stay out of the way of your knees. So as far as that goes, they do their job. I've never felt like when pushing on these, any side-to-side warping or anything like that. You get a direct push, which is what you want. Every ounce of effort that you put into the bike, you want that to count towards your calorie count or your distance or anything like that. You don't want any wasted energy. The seat's really nice, and it's definitely an upgrade over the Airdyne. You can go forward, back, you know, you can go up and down. This is one thing actually that I don't like about the bike. This is one of the only things that I really don't like is this knob. It really plays no part in the functionality of the bike, so I don't think it's a deterrent to not purchase it. But it's just a cheap plastic knob. I wish they would have put something a little bit more heavy duty here. You know, even if they had to increase the price of the bike a little bit, I think that would have been nice. It looks cool, but it just feels like cheap plastic, and it feels like it could break at any time. Moving on, the fan, 24-inch fan. The monitor tracks calories and distance using the same formula as the Assault bike. So not the same as the old Airdynes, but the same as the new Assault bike. That's pretty much going to be the standard going forward for things like CrossFit, as these get used more within the CrossFit games and possibly within the Open. It's also got a water bottle holder. For a lot of people, that's not a big deal. However, for those that, you know, go long distances on these, which, you know, doesn't sound very fun to me, but if that's your cup of tea, go for it. But it does have a water bottle holder, and that's the basic overview. So now we have the two Stallions side by side. This is a Schwinn Airdyne, really old, and then this is the new Xebex air bike from GetRx. This thing's a hunk of crap. Always has been. These things suck. They really do. But talk about some of the differences. Pretty much they're just different all around. Way beefier on this. Some of the major ones. These foam grips absolutely suck. Your sweat just gets ground in there. As you can see, and I talked about this a little bit earlier in the video, whenever you press on this, and this is for all the Airdynes I've had, there's a little bit of a give. So you can't actually start pushing on it, you know, until you've reached a little bit past that. The seats on these, you know, also suck. They're real huge. They're not comfortable. The seat on the Xebex bike is definitely an upgrade. It's not, you know, a super special seat, but it is better than the old Airdynes. These are, you know, absolutely hideous as well. I guess that's one reason they call them Satan's tricycle, because they're ugly as sin. The monitor on them sucks. Basically everything about these is not good. But, you know, and I talked about this a little bit too. The wheels on the front, they attach it to the fan, and it's just awful to move it around. Okay, but having them attached to the frame is a real big upgrade. But there's no question on which one is better. The Xebex air bike from GetRx is 10 times the bike that the Airdyne is. Okay, now speaking on the direct differences between the Xebex bike and the Assault bike. Okay, the Assault bike and the Xebex bike are very similar, if not, you know, pretty much the same bike. Okay, they use the same frame. They're both made in Taiwan. I'm pretty sure they're made in the same factory. The Assault bike wouldn't tell me what factory they're made in, but I'm pretty sure they both are made in Taiwan. I'm pretty sure they're just the same frame, and then they have their own components to them. The handles are different between them. The monitor, the footrest, some of the components. Pedals are same. These are same. Drivetrain's the same. Seats are a little bit different. They both have the same function, but they're, you know, a little bit different, and this has a water bottle holder. Other than that, pretty much the same bike. Really what I like about this over the Assault bike, this is cheaper, okay? Right now, it's about $100 cheaper. I don't know how much overall. Second, the footrests are attached to the frame, not the actual pedals. What can happen is, on the Assault bike, they have a cool knurled footrest, which is cool, it's a peg. But the problem is, it's attached to the actual, what's holding the handle in, and over time that can loosen up the connection and, you know, pose some problems, whereas if it's connected to the actual frame, it's much more solid, much more durable, and you won't have problems. Another difference, the monitors track the same, you know, I don't really care how it shows me. I just want it to show me correctly, how far I've gone, what I put out. You can also attach a heart rate monitor to this one, and also the Assault bike. Fans are the exact same. One of the components here on the Xebex bike is different from the Assault bike, and is a big difference. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but it has a multi-directional bearing in there that allows for better durability. It'll last longer. You won't have to tighten it, things like that. The wheels are a little bit different, but provide the same functionality. And other than that, they're pretty much the same bike. This one's just a little bit cheaper. Okay, well, thanks guys for watching. This has been Coop with Garage Gym Reviews. If you get a chance, go to the website. I'll put a link in the bio. You can check that out, garagegymreviews.com. See the reviews that I've done. I'm going to be trying to do some more videos like this. Sometimes it's great to read about them, but I'm just like you guys. I just like to watch videos sometimes, so this will make it a little bit easier. And I'll put a link to the article as well. But if you've enjoyed the video, like it, comment on it. Let me know what bike you think is better. If you have questions on this bike, on the Airdyne or the Assault bike, let me know. If you have any actual, reviews that you want done, you can let me know. But share the video, I'd appreciate it, and look forward to doing more. This is Coop with Garage Gym Reviews, and today I'm going to review the GetRx Xebex Air Bike.
Shut up and sit down.
The Xebex Air Bike is a bike produced by GetRx. It's a bike that isn't very popular yet, I think because they haven't marketed it, I guess, correctly or as much as they should. But in my mind, this is the premier air bike available. And when I say air bike, I'm kind of referring to those bikes like Airdynes. Schwinn Airdyne, I'm going to do a comparison a little bit later on between this one and the Schwinn Airdyne that I have, and then also go over the difference between this and the Assault bike. And the Assault bike is a very popular bike today. It's the one that's seen, it was in the 2015 CrossFit Games. You see a lot of CrossFit athletes have them, mainly because Assault has done an awesome job marketing the bike. Now, there's some differences between the two, but there's a lot more similarities between the Assault bike and the Xebex bike than there are differences. But the first thing I want to point out